In a shocking twist to an already explosive controversy, Justin Bieber has reportedly come forward with a list of rappers allegedly involved in intimate relationships with Sean Diddy Combs. Names that include Usher, DaBaby, and more. While the full details remain murky, Bieber's revelations are stirring intense debate and renewed scrutiny of Diddy's inner circle. What once seemed like industry gossip is quickly transforming into a serious reckoning with the culture of secrecy, manipulation, and hidden power dynamics in the music world. With lawsuits mounting and more celebrities speaking out, Bieber's decision to lift the veil on what he witnessed has pushed the conversation into uncharted and uncomfortable territory. Is this the beginning of the end for hip-hop's most guarded secrets? Access to the inner circle and the secrets. It holds Justin Bieber's early rise to fame was nothing short of meteoric, but beneath the glittering surface of red carpets and platinum records was a more disturbing reality, one he's only recently begun to hint at. His relationship with Sean Diddy Combs wasn't just a brush with a music mogul, it was entry into a tightly guarded inner circle, known for lavish excess, unchecked power, and a code of silence so deeply embedded, few dared challenge it. Unlike typical industry mentorships, where a young artist might learn the ropes from a veteran, Bieber's exposure to Diddy came with a heavy, unspoken cost. According to insiders and resurfaced videos, their dynamic involved far more than music advice or brand-building sessions. Diddy, infamous for his all-night parties and ambiguous business dealings, allegedly introduced Bieber, at the tender age of 15, to environments far beyond what any teenager should be navigating. This wasn't mentorship. It was immersion into a world where boundaries didn't seem to exist, and silence was the price of admission. Secrets, leverage, and a chilling allegation. Among the most alarming rumors to emerge from this web of secrecy is the existence of a recording, an alleged audio file capturing a deeply personal and compromising moment between Meek Mill and Diddy. While the exact content and authenticity of the tape remain unverified, its mere mention has sparked rampant speculation. Was it consensual? Was it recorded with or without knowledge? Was it a form of manipulation? Regardless of the answers, the implications are severe. Within Diddy's circle, recordings like this weren't just scandalous. They were potential tools of control, a means of ensuring silence, submission, and loyalty. In a world where image is currency, such material could ruin careers or force obedience, especially for artists still striving to cement their place in the industry. Sources claim these types of recordings were not isolated events. There's a growing belief that Diddy's empire thrived not just on musical talent, but on psychological leverage, on exploiting vulnerability and turning it into compliance. Vulnerability and coercion, the price of fame. The path to stardom often requires sacrifice, but for many young artists, that sacrifice veered into territory that was both exploitative and traumatic. It's no secret that starry-eyed teens and their eager parents sometimes walk blindly into deals they don't fully understand. When Diddy extended his hand to Justin Bieber, or mentored young stars like Usher, the assumption was that these were once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. But according to multiple sources and suggestive statements by those involved, these mentorships often crossed ethical lines. Fame and fortune were dangled like carrots on a stick, enticing enough to overlook early warning signs. Reports have begun to circulate that compromising situations were used strategically to manipulate behavior. In some cases, recordings or memories of morally questionable situations were allegedly used as silent threats, a reminder that stepping out of line could lead to exposure. Bieber, in particular, has begun to address this trauma in more subtle but noticeable ways. Over the years, his erratic behavior, battles with mental health, and public breakdowns were largely dismissed as growing pains or the pitfalls of fame. But in hindsight, these moments might have been symptoms of something far deeper. A young man grappling with memories he couldn't fully process or share. The early days, Usher's introduction to Diddy and the industry's dark underbelly. Justin wasn't alone in this experience. Usher Raymond IV, another global superstar, also has roots intertwined with Diddy's influence. When Usher was just 13, he caught the attention of LaFace Records and was soon placed under Diddy's care during the development of his debut album. Diddy didn't just help with career guidance, he became Usher's legal guardian for a time, overseeing his day-to-day life and deeply influencing his formative years. What should have been a golden opportunity quickly turned into something more unsettling. Usher has vaguely alluded to the overwhelming environment he was exposed to. In past interviews, he referenced the Puffy Flavor Camp, a name given to the intense, sometimes chaotic lifestyle that Diddy orchestrated for his young protégés. Parties, older crowds, unchecked behavior. It all painted a picture far removed from what any teenager should have been surrounded by. Usher never gave explicit details, but his comments, carefully chosen, often punctuated with nervous laughter, suggest a deep discomfort with those early years. He spoke of things he shouldn't have seen, and situations that were too grown for someone his age. These weren't just wild parties. They were moral minefields, where consent, agency, and safety were often blurry concepts. Usher's reflections, from excitement to distance. When Usher first entered Sean Diddy Combs' world, it seemed like a dream come true. At just 14, he moved to New York City under the mentorship and legal guardianship of one of the most powerful men in the music industry. The opportunity was unprecedented. Living in Diddy's home, being groomed by the bad boy empire, and exposed to the fast-paced entertainment lifestyle, Usher was poised to become the next big star. Initially, he embraced the whirlwind. He described those early days as eye-opening, calling it an intense crash course in the business. But as time wore on, the experience soured. Behind the glamorous parties and industry connections were layers of discomfort he couldn't shake. In interviews, Usher admitted the environment was too grown for him. The home, the people, and the constant nightlife felt more like chaos than mentorship. There were always guests, many of them unfamiliar, drifting in and out of Diddy's orbit without clear purpose. The lines between adult and child blurred, and Usher found himself exposed to behaviors that would later haunt him. Though he never publicly condemned Diddy, the emotional distance grew. Usher began to pull back, not in defiance, but in quiet self-preservation. Unlike others who've come forward with lawsuits or confessions, Usher's resistance was subtle. He chose silence, an unspoken acknowledgement that what he saw didn't sit right. That silence, however, has spoken volumes in recent years. The sudden erasure, Usher's social media purge. By September 2024, with Diddy facing mounting legal challenges and explosive allegations involving trafficking, coercion, and abuse, Usher made a move that stunned fans. He erased his entire Twitter history. Every tweet, dating back more than a decade, vanished overnight. Officially, his team claimed the account had been hacked, but few believed it. The timing was too aligned with the FBI's expanding investigation into Diddy's circle. Insiders speculated it was a deliberate attempt to disconnect, to erase any digital footprint that might tie him too closely to the embattled mogul. This purge wasn't just digital housekeeping, it was symbolic. While others quietly unfollowed or issued vague statements, Usher chose the most final method of disassociation, a clean slate. No explanations, no drama, just absence. In an era where silence can be louder than a headline, Usher's move was a clear message, one of caution, distance, and perhaps unspoken regret. Justin Bieber's perspective. Witness to a troubling legacy. As lawsuits continue to unravel the long-shrouded secrets of Sean Diddy Combs' empire, Justin Bieber has emerged, unexpectedly, as a key voice in the growing chorus of individuals shedding light on the alleged abuses within the music industry's upper echelons. Once seen as the golden child of pop, Justin's connection to Diddy dates back to his earliest years in the industry. At the time, fans celebrated their interactions as mentorship, a powerful figure guiding a rising star. But with hindsight, Bieber's experience seems far more complex and potentially deeply disturbing. Bieber's proximity to Diddy wasn't fleeting. Photos, video clips, and interviews from the early 2010s show him not just attending events with the mogul, but spending time in private, sometimes overnight, settings, circumstances that now raise troubling questions. While Bieber never explicitly described these events in graphic detail, his recent online behavior strongly suggests he's finally beginning to tell his truth, piece by piece. In one particularly cryptic moment, Bieber posted a video of himself calmly eating pizza while news broke of Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former longtime partner, testifying in court. The timing was not lost on followers. The video quickly went viral, with many interpreting it as a subtle but deliberate message. Justin was watching. He knew what was happening, and perhaps he had much more to reveal. Meek Mill and other names in the spotlight. Bieber isn't the only artist connected to the growing scandal. In one of the most explosive legal filings to date, music producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones filed a lawsuit against Diddy, naming multiple artists as part of a broader pattern of abuse and manipulation. Among them, Usher, Justin Bieber, and Meek Mill. While the lawsuit does not accuse Meek or Usher of wrongdoing, it includes footnotes where Diddy allegedly boasted about intimate relationships or control over them, statements that paint a disturbing picture of how the mogul may have viewed his influence. For fans and industry observers, the inclusion of these names suggested that Diddy's power extended well beyond business, and perhaps into realms of coercion and emotional entrapment. Meek Mill has not publicly commented on these allegations, but his name appearing in court filings has reignited scrutiny. Much like Usher and Bieber, Meek's early years in the industry were shaped by navigating relationships with high-powered figures. And like them, his association with Diddy now seems more fraught than favorable. The bigger picture, a culture of control and exploitation. What's unfolding goes far beyond individual misconduct. It reveals a systemic culture of exploitation rooted deep within the music industry. For years, powerful men used their influence not only to advance careers, but also to manipulate and dominate vulnerable young artists. What appeared to be mentorship often masked something far more sinister, a calculated power dynamic where opportunity came with hidden costs. Behind the bright lights and luxury was a darker reality. Surveillance, according to multiple reports, was allegedly weaponized to maintain control. Some artists were recorded in compromising or intimate moments, possibly without their knowledge, and those recordings became tools of coercion, insurance policies that kept them in check. In this chilling power structure, fear replaced trust, and silence became survival. These acts weren't random. They formed part of a broader system designed to protect the abuser and isolate the abused. Promises of fame, lavish lifestyles, and access were dangled as bait, while behind the scenes, psychological manipulation and blackmail quietly did the rest. Diddy, as allegations suggest, built more than a music empire. He built a machine of influence sustained by secrecy, silence, and the calculated exploitation of those trying to make it. A reckoning begins now. With lawsuits stacking up and federal investigations underway, a cultural reckoning is brewing. For years, whispers of what happened behind closed doors were buried under NDAs, industry loyalty, and intimidation. But as artists like Justin Bieber begin to step forward, even through cryptic social media rather than formal testimony, the atmosphere is shifting. Bieber's revelations are more than a personal purge. They represent a challenge to the culture that once celebrated and enabled these abuses. He is, in effect, forcing fans and media to reconsider what it means to grow up in the public eye, under the control of people who viewed artists not as humans, but as assets. This is not just a story about Diddy. It's about the structures that allowed someone like him to thrive unchecked. It's about the many young lives shaped, warped, or broken under the promise of fame. And as more names come forward, we are only beginning to understand the full scope of the damage. What began as a cryptic video and a few veiled comments may very well become the first chapter in a broader industry reckoning. One that asks uncomfortable questions, forces long overdue accountability, and ultimately seeks justice for those who were silenced for far too long.